this. I think the time is now 4:05, 3 in the UK, 4 here in Sweden, and I will kick off the session. So one thing I'm very excited to say, we have record attendance. A lot of people have signed up, the most that we ever had in a webinar. So that is really, really exciting news. But with this, I will just, keep quiet and get started. So today, I am delighted to talk to you about the Vizlib June 2019 webinar. So as I highlighted earlier in my introduction, we try to do this webinar on a regular basis, at least every 2 months, hopefully more frequently. And the goal of this webinar is to show you a little bit, give you a couple of company news. So the agenda today is to talk to you a little bit about what's new at Vizlib, to show you a little what's happening behind the scenes, but also more importantly, talk to you about the latest and greatest Vizlib features and updates that have already been released that are available already for you guys to use. Another very interesting aspect is the coming up next on our roadmap. Some of you have spoken to us, have met us at Connections, so you've seen some of the stuff that I will present to you today. For those of you that didn't get the chance to meet us in person or hear about these new exciting features, I think they're going to be game changing. It's actually the most part that I'm most excited today. And of course, our famous Q&A at the end of the session, where I'll try to cover as many questions as I can. Of course, you remain anonymous even though you post the questions. And one last bit. We will also run some polls today, so you'll be able to interact a little bit on the webinar with us and share your opinion live in action. So very excited to keep going. So starting with the Vizlib news, as always, it's always a pleasure to welcome and introduce to you new Vizlibbers, right? So we are really hiring on a very fast pace. We're literally, not even keeping up with presenting them all, but, I would like to present to you our new joiners in May/in June. So we have, starting out from right to left, as a software tester sitting with us in Poland, Joanna or Asia. So, the team is growing. We're releasing more features. So effectively, we are growing the testing team as well. And she's effectively the person who tests our extensions before we are having the go-ahead before releasing it in process. Also, very pleased to introduce Idris here in the London team, our financial controller. So more a back office function, but hey, also very important part of the team. And effectively, also very excited to introduce you Giuseppe Lolli, who will be starting with us actually next Monday as our first customer success manager. So the customer success manager role is actually quite new in the space of software as a service, but also very important. And just to kind of narrow it down, for some of our accounts, Giuseppe will be working very closely with you. He'll be reaching out and he will try to create effectively a tiny mini Vizlib plan, how Vizlib can be successful within your organization and effectively make Vizlib a success. Because ultimately, if you guys are successful, we are successful, and Giuseppe is going to be the person, the first one actually, and hopefully one of many more to join the team who will be helping us on that front. So yeah, we'll hope with this we will be more proactive. And yeah, that's not the last to say. We have more hires, hopefully, and some exciting hires as well to be coming very soon in July. So with this, I was actually creating a slide around, Vizlib, the latest updates, stats, and I don't for one presentation, and I want to kind of like share this with you as well, where we are today. So I'm actually very excited to say that we have today over 350 customers all across the globe. So all of you who are attending today, I'm pretty sure you're equally as spread across the globe, both in South America, EMEA, also the UK, but also in Asia Pacific, China, Thailand, and Australia. And so excited to be working with all various verticals, from hospitals to financial services, elevator companies, gaming companies, in all different countries. But also the Vizlib team has grown significantly. So we're currently 34 employees spread across 4 offices. As you see, we are also present in New York, and we're expanding the US team as well. And altogether, we are speaking 8 languages. So, if you require support in German, Spanish, English, Swedish, Polish, French, Italian, or even Lithuanian, we're more than happy to respond to you in that language. So, yeah, very, very excited to share this kind of stats, especially as some of you who have joined us a year ago or so, you remember, we were quite small, so we've grown quite a bit since then. And not only have we grown in terms of team members and customers, but for those of you who have missed exciting news, we have also acquired the Climber extensions packages and made it part of our Vizlib product family. So that was actually quite a big piece of news that we're very, very proud of. With this, we also open up the Swedish office. But for those of you are familiar with the custom report that I'll showcase today as well as part of some of the updates that we've introduced. But in a brief slide, I wanted to introduce to you how these whole things are kind of fitting in. So what Vizlib is effectively offering today is, 2 basic packages, which is the Vizlib library package and the famous Climber self-service package. Lots of customers have one or the other, and what we found is both with our customer base, but also ourselves using the different extensions, is they cater to different use cases. Vizlib library is more here for guided analytics, dashboarding. Climber self-service for data exploration, true self-service experience on top of Qlik Sense, right? And typically companies start with one or the other use case, but very often, and we see that now happening with Vizlib, people are finding use cases for both packages, right? So if you are a customer of a Vizlib library and you've not heard about this self-service package, please give us a shout. We'd love to do a demo, or vice versa. If you're using the self-service package and you're new to Vizlib, give us a shout. We'll love to show you around what else there is available. And of course, the famous finance report, so for P&L reporting, and a very new product called the Vizlib Collaboration, which is almost there, live to be launched very soon, and I'll cover that today as well. So very, very exciting, lots of solutions, lots of extensions, and yeah. So one thing that has also happened, right, as part of this acquisition, we've made sure that the whole user portal got a little bit of an update. So at the moment, all the packages I've just introduced, you're able to actually go into the user portal now. And for those of you who don't know what the user portal is when you create an account, you effectively log in, and this is where you can download the extensions, right, either individually or the whole package altogether. So now everybody effectively, Vizlib customer or Climber customer or not a customer, you will also have the ability on the left-hand side to go to the download section and test drive effectively the Climber self-service package for yourself. So either you can do that, or you can also download the finance report, right? So that's actually quite new. It was not available for download and testing before, but now you can easily do that with your existing account. So please do go there, explore it, have a test drive, and I'm pretty sure you will find some of the use cases particularly compelling. One thing I want to emphasize is, for those of you who have been using Climber before, a free version, I want to put an emphasis here that what you can trial here is the free version. So effectively, you have full functionality. There's nothing limited. The custom report plus version is here, and that effectively allows you to use the extensions always as they're intended to be used, and typically with a user limit. So have a go, explore them, and you don't even need to create a new account. You just can download them here right away. Cool. So with this, I kind of want to move over to perhaps a more interesting part, which is the latest updates. So as you know, we've been releasing a lot of new features. Obviously, we've been working heavily on the stability of our extensions as well. However, some of the features and capabilities that we are introducing are actually quite powerful. And so I wanted to showcase to you, cover some of them today, starting from the pivot table. right? So pivot table is actually one of our more used objects, unsurprisingly, and as a continuous commitment to existing customers, but also to community, we're constantly evolving and improving the pivot table. So what we've done is we've added in the last couple of months, 2 months, two very important features and capabilities that I would like to show to you now directly in Qlik Sense. So I'll move over directly into a pivot table. Session timed out, so all I need to do is to refresh my screen and I should be fine to go. Right, so the idea of the pivot table has always been, when I was a Qlik Sense developer, as a matter of fact, I very often created a data model and I quickly wanted to bring all the date fields and slice and that and explore and consolidate them really quickly. And one thing that I loved in Qlik View and I couldn't get in Qlik Sense is the ability to add multiple fields as once. So this is actually a request that came to us from a lot of users and customers. So effectively, we developed it. So now when you use a Vizlib Pivot Table, you can drag this into the screen, right? And instead of having the standard dialog of adding dimensions and measures on the screen, you have a tiny wizard icon. The wizard icon, all you need to do is to click on it, and what it does, it opens up a dialog which brings up all your master items, all your master dimensions, master measures, and generally all the fields that you have in your data model. And if you have a data model that has a lot of fields, you can even filter by the individual tables. So let's say you just brought in, as part of your data modeling exercise, a new field, you can quickly skim that through here and then use it to add it to your pivot table for a quick creation to just to look at your data. Or you can use existing tables, existing master dimensions, which makes it a bit easier. But the good thing is here, you can add multiple dimensions at once in one go, right? So it makes it actually very, very easy, very intuitive, and as a matter of fact, user-friendly to create your pivot table. You can also search from your data sets, such as, oh, cool, I saw months, I put it here, and step by step, generate your pivot table with a wizard, and then once you're done, you just have to click on create, and voila, you created your pivot table on the fly. And that's it. And then you can play around with formatting, rearrange it, and so on and so on. But it helps at least, with a quick exploration. So that is, and if you once you've created your pivot, you can of course always go back here into the wizard and then rearrange it on the fly if you want to change that a little bit or you want to bring in other fields. Very useful and hopefully speeds up your dashboard development. Now, of course, step by step, if you create your pivot table, you can create something much more formatable and nice. One of his examples that we have, for those of you who've never seen the pivot table, is, access denied, is this here, where you can have expanded columns, you can have different formats, different background colors for different rows. So effectively, you can take this even further. But now, what I want to focus to you is also on a couple other features. So, for example, one thing that was always very, very popular, actually in Qlik View, was the ability to select a cell directly, right? So in Qlik Sense natively, you can select individual dimension values, right? That's okay. We're aware of this. But one thing you want to do is if you select an individual row, that if you click on this, it selects all associated dimensions. And this is particularly interesting if you have, let's say, a column, a dimension on the as a column here. So if I come in here and I select, I don't know, last year's sales 487, if I click on this, it effectively selects all my dates, all my columns, values, and all my row values with this. So quick select effectively on measures. That is, I think, an intuitive way to drill down into the details, right? So that is possible now with the Vizlib table. Next to that, we of course played a little bit around also with formatting, right? And we're improving that even further. So as a matter of fact, now if you go to the column size settings, I think it's here, right? And you see here the column size. If you deactivate auto and you go to custom, you will now have the ability actually as a user to rearrange here the size of your pivot table on the fly. Right? So if you, for example, want to have a different view, especially when you have a dynamic pivot table, you can easily come in here and basically create your pivot table size of the columns of the rows entirely dynamically. Even the dimensions, so as you're expanding into the different levels, you see here the space is over, so a user wouldn't be able to read actually the labels, but as a user will be able to increase this very easily, so you can get the full picture, right? So you see we're also working a lot on the user experience, on their interactivity. Working with tables is key, and being able to do some very standard stuff is actually brings a lot of value to the table. So one thing I also wanted to highlight here is that similar features will find itself also in the Vizlib table. One last bit I wanted to show you is for those of you who are exporting Vizlib table to Excel, we added actually the ability to export this, right? I know a lot of people know of this feature, but what has changed now is that this is exported as an XLSX. So if I open this, there's not going to be any error message, whether the file is corrupt, and you basically will be able to open it directly in the newest and latest format. So that is already available for you to use, and will also find its way slowly into the Vizlib table. So one thing that we've done with the Vizlib table is start adding the wizard. So now when you add a Vizlib table to the screen, you'll have a very similar functionality as well. So instead of adding a column, which of course you can still keep doing on the right-hand side, you'll have the ability to just prompt the wizard and effectively come in here and add multiple measures, dimensions on the fly, and create your Vizlib table in a much quicker way than you would have with a standard table out of a box. So yeah, a lot of exciting things are happening here. And one thing I can tell you that is actually very, very cool, we're working on export to Excel, formatted export to Excel from the Vizlib table as well, and hopefully that will find itself in the product in the summer very soon. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I think has already been very well received by some users. But yeah, I think tables can be very, very exciting with some of these capabilities. Now, moving over into the next kind of big thing that we released was the Vizlib Container. So one thing that we saw there as a necessity is to give you the ability to add more than one item at a time in the Vizlib Container, and that's what we did with a so-called new grid mode. As part of that, we realized it's better if we rewrite this from scratch, the whole container, and make it the fastest possible. So as part of this new container version, we managed to also improve the performance a lot, and at the same time also add our famous Vizlib presets. And I'll come to that, why we're adding them almost everywhere in every single extension. So to showcase to you the Vizlib container, I'll just open a standard consumer sales app, so the standard example app coming from shipped with Qlik Sense. And here we are. Right. So now what you'll have is if you update and load your new container version, and by the way, it doesn't matter whether you've been using the old one, you can easily upgrade to the new version without any issues, hopefully, but the transition should be seamless. But what you'll have is a Vizlib container that you can add to the screen, and as you know, you can add a master item one at a time, or in the next view, you can, instead of adding a single master item, you can choose to add a grid mode. So if you add a grid mode, effectively what it does, it creates a grid of pre-selected items that you can literally very easily just keep adding as if it's a mini dashboard, as a matter of fact, and effectively step by step creates a dashboard here. Oops, I had it out. You can also add container within a container, so this way you can achieve multiple grids. Or filters at the top. So this is one particular interesting use case, to have different filters for different container tabs. And if you feel that the space is too much at the top, you can easily resize them. That's not a problem at all if you want to make it a little bit more narrow, right? And perhaps you would like this style, or you can choose from a different layout style. So we offer 6 default container styles. But again, if you want more styles, more container grid styles, you can always use a container within a container. We wanted to make sure that you don't abuse it too much, hence we limit it a little bit. But very, very exciting. And with this, you'll give the user the ability to quickly change between the different chart types. But hey, almost show a mini dashboard there. So show and hide multiple objects at a time. Very, very powerful. I was used to using that functionality in Qlik View, and I'm pretty sure some of you will appreciate it a lot in Qlik Sense as well. So please do explore this, especially the use case where you have different views with different filters at the top, so you kind of carry along different filter section is particularly powerful for context switching. And yeah, and aside from that, you'll also have the ability to come in here now and also add presets. So in case you wondered how did we manage to create that really beautiful style, you can come in here and choose one of the available presets. Bootstrap nav, you can change this to buttons if you want to. And one thing is to highlight that all these presets can then be further amended, right? So you're not stuck with that view. You can easily go to the appearance section and then start changing the carousel, changing the colors, and modifying your preset as you wish. So very exciting. And here's a use case of a container with a grid mode. So we have here different kind of mini dashboards, budget. I can change this to product sales, and I have different filters, regional sales, and I have a map and a scatter chart here on the screen. So can make your dashboards much more interactive, and I think it's a very, very powerful extension. Do explore it. So that's the Vizlib container for you, and that's already available. Now, of course, with the acquisition of the Vizlib extensions, we also Climber extension, we also now continue working on the Climber extensions, such as the Climber custom report. So this has also received a couple of fresh updates, especially around the formatting and customization. So what I want to do is I want to go now to the Climber custom report. Let me refresh the screen. So those of you who have never heard about this extension, it's effectively a very popular way for people to slice and dice and explore their data on the fly on the dashboard without being a developer or without having to go into the edit menu. So just like a shopping cart approach, you will have a list of dimensions on the left-hand side that you can add, that you can remove, and basically rearrange to create your own very personal custom report as you see it fit. You can change between pivot table and a table view, right? By the way, the free version only had the table. The current Vizlib version has a pivot table for you to test it. So please do explore it. You can rearrange your dimensions here and effectively create a view that you like a report that you effectively want to have for yourself. And once you see something that you keep reusing as a user, you can also store this as a bookmark, right? So rest assured, this is now also working with bookmarks. So please test it. It is actually a very, very powerful feature, being able to go into a dashboard and open up your own report. Now, one thing that you see here on the screen is, of course, the ability to, you see the colors have changed a little bit, right? So with the custom report now, the latest version, you will be able to come in here and play around with visualization settings. So you see here, you can play, not visualization settings, appearance, I think, yes, here. So you can change the measures menu, you can change the dimensions menu, so you can style it a little bit to your branding guidelines. As always, there are a lot of settings, but I appreciate this might be overwhelming for some people. So you don't necessarily have to build everything from scratch. You can also go to the presets. And presets effectively, sorry, not presets, but preset themes. Apologies for the name, that is something that we'll still resolve. But the idea is to choose one of the pre-configured styling for the custom report that perhaps goes very close to how you wish to deploy it. And yeah, you can click on it and then poof, get some inspiration that you can then basically easily come in here and start continuing to modify and to adjust to whatever branding guidelines your customer has, you yourself have, or anything else. Now, one thing that I'm actually very, very excited to share is, if I am a customer and I have the Climber self-service package and I have the Vizlib library package, actually, as of today, you will be able to leverage the best of both worlds. So you see here at the top right, where as a user can quickly switch between a table to a pivot table and also to a combo chart. Well, actually, from now on, you will also be able to leverage a Sankey chart, the Vizlib Sankey chart, effectively out of the box. So here I have to select at least 2 dimensions. I can close color, consumables, and you can effectively see how I'm generating my Sankey chart on the fly just by adding and removing dimensions without any developer rights necessary. And you can easily come in here, you can rearrange your Sankey chart on the fly, so you can do some real ad hoc visual analysis of the data that you have now selected, pre-selected, and that you're viewing of a super report. So you see here, I'm looking at the Sankey chart. I can quickly go back to my table view. Hey, that's the same data, right? Effectively on the fly, I'm not changing anything. So, a very nice way for people to explore their data in a true self-service manner. And the Sankey chart has been added, and also the Venn diagram. So if I click here on the Venn diagram example, so these are the pre-configured presets, I can click here and then I can see here, now I have 2 dimensions. So I can now try to change, flick around different dimensions on the fly, and see if I find something interesting in my data set that, might be worth sharing or might be worth effectively, saving as a bookmark for yourself. So here's the Venn diagram. I can quickly change to a table view, and this is the same underlying data. So really powerful. And if you're a customer of both packages, you can leverage the best of both worlds in the Vizlib library. So you see there are a lot of benefits having a single vendor providing you with all the extensions. It's effectively, one support contact. You see the same technologies are being shared to the benefit of everybody, and effectively the whole development is accelerated with a lot of innovation going on. So very excited about that. And of course, these were like the biggest things that we released in a couple of 4 to 5 weeks. Of course, we have more stuff like tiny updates, tiny features, but I please always encourage you to follow us, do follow our blog posts where we give you like a summarized outline of all the mini things that we have also added to your extensions. And as always, don't hesitate to contact us. We love speaking to you. So if you have a particular question, we're more than happy to point you in the right direction. So exciting stuff happening, but aside from that, also some new things unfortunately not yet released. I wish I could have presented them under, hey, this is already available, but very excited to share you that even though they're not available, they're coming very soon. So to the very interesting and personally very much more much exciting coming soon section, starting with advanced analytics. So I know, as a matter of fact, there's been a lot of hype around machine learning, AI, whatever. So many examples with R, Python. You can create incredible, data science solutions using Qlik Sense and a backend solution, server-side extensions, as they say, and they are very compelling. They can add a lot of value, but we feel there's sometimes it's almost like detached, like it's too far away from myself. You have to be an expert to be able to leverage advanced analytics. So one thing that we have always done at Vizlib is to keep things as simple as possible. To make it easy, drag and drop, no coding required, as some of you remember my initial pitch a couple of years ago. So what we're doing now is trying to bring advanced analytics to Qlik Sense with just a click away from your dashboard. So let me show and start with an example to kind of illustrate a little bit the use case. So some of you are familiar with the line chart that we have, and the Vizlib line chart is is a very interesting extension in the sense that it allows you to create a lot of has a lot of formatting options. You can control the styling, the line style, and you name it. But one thing that has always been a key element here for us is Vizlib. This is a line chart out of a box, right? And it's descriptive in a way, like it shows you, hey, it's gone up at some point, then it's gone down, it's gone up again 12 months later, and there's some cyclicality, but you have to explain it, right? And I know this is there's a whole data literacy movement, very rightly so, trying to make charts more compelling for people to understand them, to be able to action on the data. So with Vizlib, what we do is we try to help with that process by providing more context. So, one example that some of you know is the horizontal gradient, right? Like adding some visual cues and indicators on the line chart to help you understand what happened in the past, right? Is it good? Is it bad? And the color coding assists with this. And one key element that we've also added are annotations, where you can describe the past, and very, very clearly, so that ultimately somebody can effectively look at a chart and immediately understand what has happened, why has it happened, right? So line charts are good for time series analysis and for analyzing trends. People are trying to understand the past. People are trying to explain the past with a hope to correct an action and improve the future, right? So here's the next step. We describe the past. We effectively kind of figure out why it has happened and how it's happened. Now the next step of analytics is, let's predict the future, right? Now, here's typically the case where you go and get a data scientist, you effectively try to get a server-side extension. It's a little bit difficult, but in what we do at Vizlib, we want to bridge that gap and make it easy. So now as a developer, be it an experienced Qlik Sense developer or even a power user, you'll be able to take your line chart, and at the right-hand side, you will have a tiny sections, and very, very soon, which is called Advanced Analytics. And if you click on this, you'll have a section called Forecasting. And if you activate forecasting, what is happening now, without the need of any server or hosting or backend required, just on the front end, you can effectively take your data and apply a forecasting algorithm on it that predicts or tries to give you a good prediction of the next couple of months. You'll be able to change a little bit here, play around with your settings if you want to change the forecasting period from 5 to 10 months, and we're improving the property panel. That's why this has not been released yet. You can also change the models to something much more accurate, but you see also perhaps a little bit more calculation intensive, and effectively that will give you an idea of how the future can look like. Now, what we're using here is, for those of you who are curious, we're using the Holt-Winter statistical algorithm, which is effectively trying to take the past trend and also cyclicality to predict the future based on the existing data. And I'll be quite honest here. I know this is sophisticated data science or 100% accurate forecasting, but I think even if it's not that, it's enough to get an understanding of how potentially your data could evolve, of how your data effectively could look like in the next 12 months, and accordingly do some actions with it, right? I mean, there's always that one thing, right? Regardless what models you use, regardless how sophisticated your data scientist projections are, effectively all models by definition are wrong. Some of them are useful, and I think this one, just being one click away from you, can be very, very useful because it's very, very easy to use and to start implementing. So very, very soon we will give you a spin, and that'll be available. But it's not just that. Out of curiosity also took us to the next step, where we said, actually, we want to see where else can we apply advanced analytics. And one cool example is the scatter chart. So in the scatter chart, very often we're plotting a lot of data points, and the data points sometimes not, but sometimes kind of follow a distinct shape. So you can see there's some sort of a relationship, some sort of correlationship in the data, that they kind of like move together in a certain way. So here you can visually look at it, which is effectively, I think, a color of certain petals of flowers of a flower type. But what we can do here, visually we can recognize there are some shapes, but very, very soon with advanced analytics, you'll be able to come in here and, as a developer or a power user, click on the extension, click on the Vizlib scatter chart, and again, go into the advanced analytics sections, into clustering, and voila, enable clustering. And with something as simple as a density-based scan, quickly visually identify distinct groups of observation that somehow appear to statistically belong together, right? And you'll be able to change this from a DB scan. There are a couple of parameters that you can be able to change here. So, we give you a little bit of freedom. You can have k-means, which allows you to change the number of clusters from 2 to 3 to 4. And if you actually use this in combination, let's say you have 4 clusters here on your data set, and you come to our legend, you see that the clusters will have been organized as legends. So as a user, you'll be able to portray this, and then as a user, will be able to select a cluster. So you can use this now, make a selection, and then poof, use it for further analysis or for further clustering. So very, very, very supported, and I think there's going to be some interesting use cases. We already heard some very positive feedback at Connections, and again, the whole point here is that you don't require any data science skills, any coding skills. It's all just one click away, drag and drop, activated in the property panel, and there you go, some standard basic clustering on top of your own data. And really curious to see how that works when you also have a filter. So you basically try to do clustering on the fly by filtering and selecting your data based on it. So do explore it. It'll be actually going back to the slide here, released 1st of July. So next week, we're almost there in the final sprints. So you'll see some great announcements on social media. Please take it up for a spin and yeah, come back to us with ideas how else we can improve it. Cool. So to the next interesting topic that will be available very, very soon. As an additional product line, I'm very excited to share with you Vizlib Collaboration. So I actually kind of went through that a little bit on the April webinar. So it'll be a little bit of a repeat, but for those of you who missed it, I'd still like to kind of like remind you of it, but also share with you that actually we're planning to release the Vizlib Collaboration online version on the 8th of July. So in 2 weeks, we're almost there, and then an enterprise version with on-premise installation in autumn. So what I'll do is to kind of go directly into Qlik Sense for those of you who have never heard of collaboration or the necessity of collaboration. I'm very, very excited to, show you. One quick pit stop, see if we still have people on the call. Yes, we're fine. Brilliant. Great, I'll continue. So the reason why we as developers and as consumers and of course as product innovators at Vizlib felt there was a need for collaboration started effectively from a dashboard like this. Right? Very often we have a nice looking dashboard in Qlik Sense or using Vizlib objects hopefully as well, and people are analyzing, are getting insights, they're trying to answer questions. But very often once you've seen the insight, once you've analyzed your data, once you've made a particularly interesting selection, the next step is, what do you do now? Right? So either you're lucky and you have your colleague sitting next to you, you tell them, hey, look at this, come over. Most of the cases, you take a screenshot, send via email, and then people are like, hey, which 7 sales rep did you select? What selections did you make? Can you show it to me? Right? So there's a disconnect there, right? First of all, between a question and answer or a sharing of an insight. The other aspect is very often when you're analyzing a dashboard like this, trust me, there are probably very likely 10 other people at this on the same dashboard on the same time looking at the same data, perhaps even having the same questions. So why isn't it that you can not communicate with them and have a conversation directly where your data is? That's effectively what prompted us to develop collaboration. So collaboration is going to be an extension that will be placed on your screen, and you will have the ability to have discussions on your sheet, on a sheet level. So effectively, you'll have a tiny icon here that you'll expand, and you see here a collection of various kind of comments that have been posted. Be it, a sign off, be it a process comment, a workflow comment, or just like a commentary that says, hi, this is Martin from the webinar. So, you can make it part of your conversation. Now, the beautiful thing is that if you see here on the right-hand side, there's a tiny kind of bookmark icon. So as a matter of fact, you'll have here the ability to actually click on that comment and see, oh, Michael says these new updates look great. If you click on this, you see that it's tied to a selection. The other way around, if I make some selections and I go back to this use case that I just described earlier, I can make some selection and then type a comment with selections, and you see here that they are stored. They are stored as a bookmark. So the next time somebody comes in here and looks at my comment, he can click on this and can reapply the same selection. Sometimes you don't want to, sometimes you just want to put a comment for yourself, which is absolutely fine by adding a private note. So a private note effectively is just visible to yourself and nobody else can see it. And that allows you to kind of create your own comments with your own selections that you can reuse next time you're on your dashboard. really amazing. So the next step is also, you can have conversations either on sheet level or more on a context on a particular chart. See here, a margin variation. We have 3 new comments. International marketing is performing well this year. Is it? Amazing numbers. Oh, he was looking at international. Okay, I can sign off on this, right? And make it part of a workflow. And effectively collaborate, discuss directly where your data is. And of course, you can either have it in collapse mode, you can, as Vizlib always is, you can deactivate one mode, you can deactivate another mode. So it's very flexible. You can have it in expanded mode on the screen. You can, of course, expand this altogether and make it a full-blown discussion. It's entirely up to you how you wish to deploy it, but very simple comments tied to selection. I think this is going to be a very powerful thing to effectively improve the adoption of Qlik Sense. Now, last bit I want to show you is, of course, we want to show some of the stuff that we have created and share also with other people outside of Qlik Sense. So you can actually come in here, and if you look at this line chart, click on this and share this. Share this via email, soon also via Slack and Teams, Microsoft Teams for enterprise version, and you can attach the data in the image. So if I write here to Vizlib, hello, please take a look at this chart, you can, send a notification and share the comment via email. It will, of course, appear here in the section, right? So you don't lose track. But then if I come in here into Gmail, I see, wow, there's a new comment from Martin with the chart and directly the comment here, right? Really beautiful. And I can, of course, use the data that has been extracted with this. And if I want to go and respond to him, all I have to do is click on this link and it will take me directly to the server, directly to the app, directly to the sheet, and directly to where the comment is with the selections applied. So literally a true integration of the workflow. And with this, I'm very excited that this will be available for testing, for playing around from next week, free to try. In 2 weeks, sorry. So, and one thing I want to highlight here is, because I know collaboration is tied to commentary and means that data will be stored, data will effectively go around, and we, having worked with a lot of enterprise customers, we generally appreciate the secrecy and the necessity to comply with data restrictions. So what we will do is we will have a Vizlib Collaboration Online version, right? That'll be plug and play. All you need to do is install it and drag and drop into the screen and start collaborating. Easy to use for you to test, to play around with. Perhaps if you're happy to use it, you can easily go ahead with that and subscribe to it. But at the same time, we'll be working on a Vizlib Collaboration Enterprise version, which will be a full on-premise installation with Slack, Microsoft Teams support, book installation, and of course, comment level security rules. So the second part of the version, the enterprise version, that will be available in autumn-ish. So we're already starting with a closed beta with 5 Vizlib customers from July. Those of you know who you are, and you'll be notified in 2 weeks. So we'll get started with you. And for the rest, everybody else, that will be available from autumn. And we're very excited. And doesn't stop you. Have a play with a Vizlib Collaboration Online tool. You can see if you find this useful, and if you do, please sign up to be one of our first customers to use it for your enterprise version. So with this, yeah, I'm very excited. So the last bit, so actually at this point, I want to move over to a poll and ask you guys, what you think of it right while you're at it. So I will bring you back to, what do you think? Do you think collaboration is something that you guys could find useful? All you got to do is vote, and then once you vote, we will be able to see the results together. And very often, new functionality seems exciting, but it's a different thing. Interest is a different thing to finding an actual use case. So that's why we thought, releasing a plug and play version for you guys to play around with it will be basically the best way to figure out how you can use it. But given the fact that the feedback we've received so far on the way we've developed this, I think there's a lot of interest to actually bring the conversation directly to where the data is. So yeah, about almost 70% have already voted. So with this, we will close the poll, and yeah, show you the results, which is actually quite exciting. So yeah, most of you think, wow, yeah, a lot of you could think of start using it today. There's a use case, and yeah, some of you think, might be interested in playing around with it. So with this, I welcome you to join the plug and play Vizlib online collaboration version in 2 weeks. Stay tuned, and they'll be available free to try. So before I conclude, very last version I want to show you, and this is up and coming, not yet released, but this is Vizlib custom presets. So as you know, in the Vizlib library, more and more we're deploying the preset functionality. So it has been first kind of released with a Vizlib KPI object, but has found itself in the container, in the table, in the sheet menu. And what is happening here effectively is that what we want to do with a custom preset is not only give you the ability to to apply the presets to be quicker in developing, but what we're actually aiming and working towards too is give you the ability to create your own presets yourself within your company to share with your own teams. So this is an example that we have already kind of internally developed. So just to showcase you a little bit the journey, this is a standard table out of the box. We will then say, look, we want to do more with a table because we want to format it a little bit more nicer, more branded, closer to our company standards. I'm converting this to a Vizlib Pivot Table. And then I can come in here and say, look, I want to change the headers. I want to give the headers, some purple color, just to prove you that this is all a live demo. I'm gonna choose a very ugly color. We're gonna use white font color, increase the font size a little bit of the headers and make it bold. And now I can say, okay guys, this is my company standard. And what you'll be able to do, you'll be able to go into your preset themes, and by the way, you can either apply some of the standard presets, right? But that's not the goal here. The goal here is to come in here and save that preset, right? So you'll be able to click here in the future and you'll say, this is a Vizlib webinar purple demo, right? I give my preset a name, and I can click here to import its current view. So what this is actually doing is it's going to the table, it's taking a screenshot, and it's basically taking the screenshot and embedding this as an associated picture to the preset. So this is what's happened here, right? So just so people to get reminded, hey, this is how it looks like. All right, this is a Vizlib webinar purple demo. I save this preset, right? So now what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to come here and say, go to custom. It will load all your available presets and see here, this is the Vizlib webinar purple demo that I just created. So somebody else who's creating a table, they can switch from red, they can go back and say, actually, I want to use Martin's preset, and I can go back to purple. Now, so with this, you can create a lot of designs that you can share internally within your company. So reporting standards, formatting standards. And as a matter of fact, what you can also do is, as an admin, you'll be able to come in here and can say, the purple preset is going to be default. Default for this app or default for everybody who's using a table, right? So next time, if somebody comes and tries to build a table, so let's just repeat the exercise here. So this is a native table, Qlik Sense out of the box, and I want to use a Vizlib table. All I gotta do is hover over it, convert it, and you'll see, puff, my custom preset is applied as a default. Wonderful. Really excited about this. I think this will solve a lot of branding standards for a lot of organizations who have lots of developers building at the same time. And yeah, with this, I am very excited to share. Yeah, we're working on this. It's not yet ready to be released. The goal is to do this in the mid of August, starting with the Vizlib table. So it'll be the first extension that we will roll this out to. But I can give you confidence that if it works for Vizlib table, just reapplying this to the Vizlib library and all our RL extensions is going to be fairly easy, right? But it might take a little bit longer until it gets available everywhere. Instead of waiting until the very end, we said we'll drip feed you with everything, help you get accustomed to this. But yeah, we're very excited to this because I think there's a lot of demand for theming, a lot of demand for branding and keeping standard defaults custom to what whatever you guys wish. So with this, I am kind of concluding my webinar. That was actually the last bit. I think exceeded a little bit with time. I hope you still enjoyed it. But with this, I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask some questions that I'll try to cover. So please go to the chat box on your GoToWebinar client and do fire some questions, and I'll try to pick some of them and answer them for everybody. In the meantime, I will start another poll, which is, of what I showed you today, what are you most excited about? So please do share your opinion, and in the meantime, do fire us some questions, and I'm going through them actually right now. Okay. Right. So cool. Yusta, I will kindly ask you to share the results once they're available. In the meantime, I'm going to go through a couple of these questions. So we actually received over 30 questions, so we will try to follow up with them individually if we're not already doing so. But one question is, will we be able to save a custom, we'll be able to have our own preset themes on the custom report, and the idea is that everywhere where we have a preset, we will also enable that functionality. Another question is around the collaboration module, whether we will have it compatible with OEM partner installations, right? So have it more like literally part of a product. And the answer to this is yes, we're striving to do so. First step of this is to make sure it works on a mashup outside of Qlik Sense. And then eventually we will see if we can also distribute and position it as a standalone solution, that it works regardless whether you're using Qlik Sense or anything else. But in terms of roadmap, that's kind of in the later phases, and I'll be realistic, probably 2020. First, we want to make sure we nail collaboration online, and we want to make sure it works for enterprises, then for mashup, and then of course for OEM. But yeah, step by step. But we definitely, this is where we see things going. Cool. So brilliant. So looking nice. So is there any plan to offer a blast reporting capability where you can create a visualization and then send it out to a group via email to a distribution list? Now, that's a good question. Now Vizlib Collaboration has the goal to notify somebody outside of Qlik Sense to, hey, look at the data, look at the dashboard, but please come into Qlik Sense and let's have a conversation there about it, right? We don't see ourselves as a reporting solution or collaboration as a reporting solution. Having said that, nothing stops you from creating a visualization, and then in my kind of collaboration screen here, you'll be able to come in here and you can say, actually, I want to share this with multiple people at the same time. So, and maybe multiple people, maybe like an email list effectively. So you can achieve both. One interesting question is what model is used by the forecasting function? And the answer to this is we're using the Holt-Winter model, right? So effectively, it's exponential smoothing. Effectively what it does is it tries to look at your data, it tries to take a learning interval, and based on that identify cyclicality but also a trend, and based on that provide a projection with some statistical significance around it, right? So just to highlight here, we don't use the ARIMA model. Since we are not using any backend services, we try to keep it as simple and as possible, and that allows the flexibility to have this very, very quick. Okay, so the question here is, does the Vizlib Collaboration on-premise extension require an additional database? And the answer to this is, of course, the comments need to be stored somewhere. At the moment, the plan is to roll the enterprise version, roll this out with a database as part of the installation. Having said that, there might be ways where you can deploy it on your own database. But again, this needs to be discussed. That's why we're doing the trial run with five enterprise customers at the moment, and we'll hopefully have more information back in September. Another function is, the question is, can you tell us how these functionalities work with imprinting, as images or as tables? And the answer to this is, extensions generally are being supported as tables, as images, right, and not as table extracts. So unfortunately, that's a limitation of imprinting, that it's, if it takes our formatted pivot tables, for example, it will just export them as an image and not as an Excel. However, we are in contact with imprinting team, and hopefully in the future we will be able to support something more, but unfortunately, not yet. Question is, custom presets, is it only available on published apps? Well, no, it'll be available anywhere, right? Like in your personal environment. We're still trying to figure out the best way how to limit the security. That's why this is still not released. You don't want to avoid creating a custom preset yourself and then somebody else kind of using it or not. Sometimes you want to have perhaps your private ones. We'll see about this, but the idea is that they're available wherever you have Vizlib extensions. The whole goal is that you share these presets, right? And they can apply them within the organization. A question is on, okay. I'm trying to go over them. One question is if the Vizlib collaboration will be included as part of a standard Vizlib offering, and the answer to this, unfortunately not. So it'll be an add-on. And that means also that you could potentially get collaboration without being a Vizlib customer, so without using the extensions. The reason why this add-on is because it's a whole separate installation with a different database, with different kind of processes and services. So unfortunately, we cannot make it as part of a Vizlib library. A lot of people would also express interest to only get the Vizlib collaboration solution by itself, and as such, we decided it's best if it's kept separate in that perspective. Cool. So with this, we're actually running out of time. So I will, so there's a question around pricing. Regarding pricing on the Vizlib collaboration solution, please reach out to us. We already have something preliminary, not yet for the enterprise version. This is still in the work, and effectively, those of you will try to follow up. If we cannot do this, please reach out to support@vizlib.com. We're more than happy to answer any one of your questions in more detail, right? Regardless how silly or simple it is, we love speaking to our customers. So with this, I am concluding the webinar. We're going, of course, to record this, so this has been recorded. We're going to share this on YouTube. So those of you who found it interesting, where you say, actually, I need to show this to Mike or to Joe, you will receive a YouTube link in the afternoon today or tomorrow that you can happily socialize. Give us your feedback. And with this, we're very excited to hear more from you, and of course, to release those incredible new capabilities in the near future, such as, again, advanced analytics next week, Vizlib collaboration online in 2 weeks, enterprise version in autumn, and the custom presets in August. So with this, thank you very much for attending. We're very excited. We always strive to do our best, and please stay in touch, and we will speak to you until next time. Thank you so much.